A lot of people use the argument that, well, bicyclists shouldn't get anything because they don't have to buy insurance and they don't have to pay for registration and all this stuff. First of all, I want to thank a YouTuber who left a comment on my channel. Luke Thomas said that if you want to ride on the road, I think you should need insurance and to be plated. First of all, why does insurance exist? It's because the insurance lobby is super powerful. That's why we have mandatory insurance. And of course, because people don't respect their financial obligations when they hit someone. On the flip side, for bicyclists, scooters, things like that, the damages generally are not great enough to warrant them having insurance. You want the car driver to have insurance because you want them to pay to help the bicyclist or the scooter rider heal, because they're most likely going to be severely injured. But the scooter and the bicycle hitting the car, that doesn't warrant insurance, even if it is their fault. So that's really the main reason why bicyclists shouldn't have to have insurance. The huge, vast majority of bicyclists already have insurance because most of them drive a car. In fact, you're going to laugh at this, more bicyclists have car insurance than car drivers have car insurance. That sounds weird, I know, but listen to this. 90% of bicyclists have insurance and only 87% of car drivers have insurance. So actually, bicyclists are more likely to have insurance. Also, the other factor, by the way, in this is that children also ride bicycles, and I don't think you want to require a 10-year-old to get insurance. Now, as far as a license goes, one of the reasons why people bring up this argument, other than the fact that they want them to take a driving test, which we've already shown is not necessary because presumably more bicyclists have passed a driving test than car drivers have passed a driving test. Anyway, the reason why people bring up the license thing is because they want them to have to pay fees for registration. Now again, this is also not true because bicyclists, again, they also drive, they also pay fees. So really, bicyclists are paying the same taxes, the same license and registration, the same insurance, which by the way is subsidizing car drivers because bicyclists will use their insurance less because they don't need it because they're not driving their car. They actually will be paying more than they should for the car insurance, which then goes to offset the costs of the car drivers who use it more. So it's kind of a funny thing where actually bicyclists are actually paying car drivers by paying too much for their insurance. So maybe bicyclists should get a rebate from their insurance company. The Department of Transportation may determine and declare a minimum speed limit when appropriate signs giving notice thereof are erected. Now, first of all, I've never seen a minimum speed limit sign, which is hilarious that they would even have a vehicle code about that. But also, it says subdivision B of this section shall not apply to vehicles, or shall only apply to vehicles subject to registration. This is another good reason why bicyclists shouldn't have to register, because you can't expect a bicyclist to follow a minimum speed law. Even though bicyclists are paying for roads through their car registration, it's actually very obvious that other than weather, which is also a factor of road deterioration, that cars are a major factor, if not the leading factor, of road wear and having to spend millions of dollars of tax dollars on repairing roads. And actually we'll show a video where on the Bologna Creek bike path, you can see that on the bike path, everything's very smooth. And there's one section where cars just have to come in off of a road and park. They don't drive on it even, they just slowly move their cars around. And that one section is completely torn up. And then it's smooth again after that. You'll see this smooth section where there's only bicycles. Then there's this really rough section where cars just slowly move around and park. That's all they're doing. It's completely torn up. And then right after that, it goes smooth again. You know, they weigh 4,000 pounds. Modern cars are a lot heavier now because everybody wants them bigger, which of course is great for traffic. But anyway, these giant vehicles are really tearing up the streets, and they're really causing a lot of dollars to be lost in tax dollars, whereas bicyclists don't. So actually, again, if you bicycle, you should actually get a rebate in your car registration. So I want to talk briefly about who's at fault, because this is another thing. This is why people say they should have insurance or whatever. And even though we've kind of already disproved it, I want to talk a little bit about who's at fault, because this is another kind of bugbear of people who are, wanting people on bicycles to pay more. In Arizona, the at-fault assignment went 44% to bicyclists and 56% to motor vehicle drivers. In Minnesota, it was close. It was 49% bicyclists and 51% motorists were found at fault. In Hawaii, 16.5% found that the bicyclist was at fault and 83.5% of the motorist was at fault. So huge difference in favor of the bicyclist. So most of the time, if not the vast majority, like in Hawaii, that the bicyclist is not at fault. It's almost always the car driver. Now I know people are going to say, oh yeah, but bicyclists, they blow through stop signs and they do all these things. Well, clearly they're not killing themselves. They're on a bicycle. They're not going to run right into a car. So yes, they might be breaking the law, but they're not more at fault in collisions because of that. And actually, they don't break the law at a greater rate than car drivers. They might break certain laws at a higher rate than car drivers, but car drivers break other laws at a much higher rate than bicyclists. So really just people break laws. That's the point I'm trying to make. Also, just keep in mind who dies and who gets injured in these situations. One study in San Diego found of the crashes they investigated, it was 2,515 crashes. And as far as the deaths go, 27 bicyclists were killed, 0 car drivers. So, just keep that in mind, that one of the reasons why bicyclists might seem aggressive is because we're fending for our lives, and whether you're talking about who's at fault or who needs insurance, obviously the car is doing more damage. I'm not really sure how you can argue that. Maybe some people would. I don't think they do. But again, going back to the point of that they're not paying into the system or not paying for roads or taxes or whatever, they actually are. Because again, if you're a bicyclist, you're more likely to pay registration and have insurance than you are if you're a car driver, believe it or not. It's mind-blowing. So thank you for listening, and I hope this gives you a little bit of perspective on whether or not bicyclists should have to buy insurance and pay for registration.